Hi, I'm Amber at Amber Plays Sims on most social medias and welcome to my second video. So today we're making a boat build in The Sims 4. I decided to build this in Sulani because you can build straight into the water, and obviously when you're building a boat that makes sense to build it right in the sea. Just a heads up if you can hear my cat purring in the background. I'm sorry I guess, but like she wanted to sit on my lap and I can't say no to her. So for this build I wanted it to be really modern. I wanted to like make it this like super modern sort of yacht. I mean, honestly, I'm not really quite sure what a yacht is. Is this a yacht? I don't know. But like a very modern, like this is where a millionaire goes for like a weekend away or something. Because the boat is obviously quite long and thin, I really struggled with the floor plan. So what you're seeing now isn't the final floor plan. Um, I completely changed it in the end, and also it was really hard to figure out like where I wanted the stairs to go because they were really going to break up the build and the shape quite a lot, and I didn't want them just to be randomly like in the middle of the living space. I think the floor plan I end up with works really well, and I'm pretty happy with it. But it took me a while to get there, so I kind of gave up on it for a bit and decided to work on the roof. I wanted to have some like mirrors? Nope, windows. I wanted to have some windows in the roof. And so you can see I'm taking a little while to figure out how I'm doing that and how I want it to look. Um, I'm not very good at doing windows in the roof. I think they always look a bit odd when I do them. Like I think a lot of other people are really good at doing them. Something I need to practice more, I think. But I'm quite happy with how they turned out. They're a little glitchy at some points and from some angles, so I don't know if I did it wrong or if the game is just glitchy. I feel like one is more likely than the other. um, but yeah, and then I tried to add a little ladder on the side, like sort of like a pool ladder. You could, jump in the sea, go for a swim, get back in. But just with one of the normal stair type ladders, it did not work. It like intersected with the foundation. It looked really weird. I think it would have still been functional, but it just visually looked awful. And then because this boat looks kind of randomly just plonked on this lot, I wanted to add what do you call it? Not like a pier, like I cannot think of the word. Like where a boat goes, like a dock, I guess. Um, for the boat to go into. So I added that with like two spaces for boats. I think it just makes it look more realistic and like the boat isn't just placed randomly in the lot because obviously I couldn't really landscape it. It's in the sea, so this was kind of my version of landscaping this lot and making it look a bit more realistic. And now I'm starting to add the doors and windows and things, and really struggling because nothing matches in this game. I couldn't get like black swatches that worked nicely together. It kept looking weird. But yeah, I wanted to go for this like open doors sort of look, which I'm really obsessed with at the moment. So I made these like open sort of fake doors on the front of the boat, open it up onto the sort of decking, and I think that looks really nice. But it messes with your lighting. So later I go back in and I add an archway, which fixes the lighting because technically having that gap in the wall makes it an outdoor space with outdoor lighting. And Sims 4 just does not like that. That does not work. So adding in an archway into that space completely fixes that. Up here, this is the like two children's bedrooms, and I wanted them to have joint access to this little balcony, but I couldn't figure out how I wanted the doors to look because obviously you need two separate entrances to the balcony from each bedroom. But there are no nice single glass doors in this game. Just none. None of them look right. None of them look nice. And then I was struggling a bit with the upstairs windows because I wanted there to be a bit more privacy than the downstairs with these huge glass windows. But again, none of them really matched. None of the window frames were the same like thickness as the ones downstairs, and I just couldn't get it to match and look nice. So usually my build style is more, I guess, traditional, sort of like not cottagey, but like cluttered and homely. So this isn't actually something I'm used to building, or a style I'm used to building in. So I didn't quite know what to do with it at first, and I experimented with a lot of different stuff. So in the kitchen, I added this sort of like wine cellar, but not underground. Obviously, it's a boat, but like this sort of wine cellar room, and I think I really like it. I've seen it in a lot of house tour videos on those YouTube channels where you look around a millionaire's house, and I think it looks very realistic for what this sort of place would have. I think it's just that sort of ridiculously extravagant, super wealthy thing that they would do with like thousands and thousands of dollars worth of wine. That's just so unnecessary, but fits with the theme of this build. I also absolutely love what I did with this staircase. Sorry to like keep saying how much I love everything I've built, but I do. I love what I did with this staircase. I think it looks really nice with that huge hanging light. We'll go back to it and you'll see it again a bit more later, but I think it looks absolutely gorgeous. Then the stairs disappeared and I had to put them back in again. I don't know why they disappeared. Probably something to do with me having moved objects on. So this kitchen ended up being quite big and empty, which I wasn't intending to do. I didn't want to just have this huge empty space, but it kind of feels a bit big and empty. But I suppose if it's kind of like a family getaway, you would want to have space for the whole family to be in the room, especially now that families can cook together. You can have children cooking with parents, since I think the cottage living update that came with. So it makes sense to have a nice big space in the kitchen, but I think it's a little bit too big and open. But again, it's a really difficult shaped space, and I wasn't really too sure how to work with it and lay it out. And I kind of did the best that I could with what I had. A lot of people in these sort of modern builds like to do these really open floor plans, but I like the kitchen being separate. I think if you want to have one of you like watching telly, and this is for like realism, not for Sims, you don't want to be hearing like all the cooking noises and stuff, and when you're cooking you might want to have like music on or something so you don't get bored. So I like having those as completely separate spaces. So I close those off and keep them separate, but both the rooms in this build have these like nice big windows to the outside. They don't feel closed off and small or tight in any way. So I think that works really nicely. Something I didn't add, because I wasn't really sure how to or where or what to do with it, was a way to sort of like drive and steer the boat. Because obviously we don't have that mechanic in The Sims 4, so, or, you know, objects for that in The Sims 4, so I wasn't really sure. I just kind of left that. I thought maybe there would be some kind of app or something they could just control it on their phone or something ridiculously extravagant like that. So here you can see I'm adding a lot of clutter to this kitchen. Even though it's this like very modern build and very like sleek and clean, it's a family home, or family holiday home, I guess. So I want it to have clutter and I want it to look realistic. That's something in my builds you might notice, that I like adding clutter and making things look realistic, because no one's house is ever just perfect. And a lot of the builds that are just placed into the worlds, like with the game, they just come with the game, are very plain, and obviously they have to be because they have like object counts and things, and they can't put too much in those builds. But it is kind of not necessarily uncanny, but like unrealistic to me, and like doesn't look quite right, because you would never go into someone's house and their kitchen counters are just completely like there's nothing on them. There's always clutter in people's homes, and I like making my Sims houses a bit more realistic. Oh, I added this like tropical fruit bowl there on the countertop next to the stove or the hob, and I think that like even though it doesn't necessarily go well with the modern look, I think it kind of goes nicely because it's like very tropical and like brings in that sort of like holiday vacation-y feel to the boat, and I think it looks nice. So now we're moving on to the living room, and I could not figure out at first how I wanted to fit in a large dining table and living space, like sofa and TV, because I wanted to have a six-seater dining table, something quite grand, because really they'd be having sort of like parties and having people over and stuff. Even though there's only space for 4 people to sleep, you just know that they'd have like guests over, and you know their other millionaire friends would come over. So I wanted a big table and a big living space. But again, this long, thin shaped house just was not working for the layout. It was so difficult. I I think it works okay with how I laid it out, but I don't think that the dining area gets quite enough space. It's a bit cramped. But the living area, like with the sofa, that gets a lot of space and it gets this lovely view as well as the TV. I think that worked out really nicely and I'm so happy with that. And I used a pink sofa from Dream Home Decorator, and I think that looks really nice because like it's not too sort of like girly looking, it's more of that like millennial pink colour, and I think it looks really nice, like very modern, um like dusky pink colour. And I tried to include a few different colours throughout this build because I didn't want it to just be black and white, because in my mind modern builds are just black and white and I struggle to make them have colour, so I tried to push myself to add some colour in. Other than just plants, because I'm always like, oh, I put plants in, there's some colour, so I find it easy to just add plants to every build. So I wanted to add bits of artwork and colourful like sofa and things like that, just to make it look a bit more colourful. This is possibly my favourite part of the build, is this under the stairs nook. I'm not sure that it's fully functional, but I think it looks gorgeous. So like really, it could be like they go away, the parent goes and does some like writing or something, or they have to do some work while they're away on holiday, or homework or something, you know, school summer projects. So they've got this like nook space, desk space, they can do that. And I just think it looks so gorgeous. And really, this could be for your Sims to like vacation in or to just live in, because it works really well for just permanently having your Sims living there, because it's got everything they would need. And I added this filing cabinet and I have to move it about a bit so it didn't interfere with the stairs, but I think that next to the computer just adds like a lot of realism. We've always had the filing cabinet next to the computer in my house. I think a lot of people probably have something similar, maybe not quite so big, but maybe something like a box with like files and important things in. I loved this. I added a cork board with postcards, and I thought that could be all the different places they visited in their boat. I thought that was a really fun idea. And then I added some clutter on the stairs as well, because you just know people would be leaving things on the stairs like that all the time. Like, that's very realistic to me. And adding bits of clutter on the stairs is something I absolutely love to do in Sims builds. I don't think a huge amount of people do it, but it really adds an element of realism, because I don't think I've ever known someone's house just have nothing on the stairs. Like, maybe it's just because I'm from Britain and we have very small houses, and so, you know, things just get put everywhere. But yeah, the stairs always have stuff on them, stuff in the way, and you know, like, I just think that's very realistic to me. So now I'm trying to decorate this outdoor space. I didn't put too much decoration on most of the other outdoor spaces because they're very tricky little spaces with all these curved fences. But this one I wanted to make kind of part of the living space, because you've got the living room right there and it's where you would enter the boat, and sort of the way I designed it is this is where you would enter the boat. So you'd walk through it a lot and it would have to look kind of nice and presentable. So I added a barbecue and a little table, and I thought just sort of an area where they could hang out in the evening, watch the sunset. You know, I thought that's the kind of vibe I was trying to go for. Because it had these columns in, it's kind of tricky to work around those. But I think quite a simple layout with not too much on it, but I think it turned out quite nice. And I really liked adding those little candles. I thought those gave kind of like mood lighting and realism. I keep going on about realism. Sorry, I'm going on about it too much. um, and then this space felt a bit too empty. I just put a couple plants in it. I still think I could have probably done something more with it, but I didn't want to over clutter it or make it so Sims couldn't walk through it. But it is kind of a big empty space. But again, people would want to be able to, you know, walk through and hang out with drinks and listen to music and, I don't know, you know, like whatever rich people do in their big boats. So now I'm starting to work on the upstairs of the boat. Or actually not quite yet. I'm adding a speedboat thingy. That is not a speedboat. I had jet ski? Is that a jet ski? I don't know. But okay, yeah, no, I totally got that wrong. I was not going onto the upstairs. I'm going onto the bathroom. So now I'm working on the bathroom. So yep, this bathroom. I struggle to make bathrooms look interesting because, you know, you just plop in a toilet and a sink, like maybe a mirror, like what else is there to do? So I wanted to try and add a few more bits of clutter into this, try and make it look interesting, but like I said, it's hard in Sims to make bathrooms not just look the same every time. Because like even though we've got all these different towels and all these different, it's still just a towel on the wall and a, you know, I don't know how, if I'm describing it properly, but I think it's difficult to make them not look repetitive and boring. And I think a lot of other simmers feel the same. I know, like, Plumbella often says here bleh, in her videos. Wow, I cannot talk today. In her videos, that she hates decorating bathrooms, and I totally relate to that. I've had to cut so much out of this recording because I just cannot form words today, apparently. Okay, so now we are actually moving on to the upstairs space. So I've got the master bedroom, two sort of like kids' bedrooms, and an upstairs bathroom. I couldn't fit an ensuite. I wanted to try and fit one on the master bedroom, but it would have taken away so much space from the bedroom and the windows. It wouldn't have worked well in that room. So something I like that I did in the upstairs space is I kind of built these sort of custom curtains by putting two curtains together and resizing both of them. So I used these black curtains, and then I added, I don't know if I'm going to do it quite yet or if I do that a bit later, but I add some sheer curtains underneath, and I think it looks really nice and a little bit different, something a little bit different to try out. So I wanted to include a four-poster bed in the parents' room, and I didn't want to have just a black bed. I wanted to include some more colour, like I said before, and I wanted to have a wooden framed bed because it was becoming a little bit too black and white, this build, and I wanted to jazz it up a little bit. So I used this bed with a dark brown wooden frame, and I think it looks really nice. I thought maybe a wooden frame would stand out a bit and look a bit odd in the very modern sort of build. But I think it ended up looking really quite nice and fitting in quite nicely. And with those white sheer curtains on the bed, they match nicely with the other curtains that I add that I don't think I've done yet in this recording, but I think I add those on a bit later. These modular wardrobes as well that came with Dream Home Decorator, absolutely in love with those because you can fit them so nicely to any space. And I kind of made it a bit like his and hers. There's a left and a right that splits quite evenly down the middle. So I thought that was, again, something quite like realistic that would be done in a space like this. They'd have like a his and hers space to the wardrobe, and then there's like a little extra bit with some designer bits on display or something like that. So I wasn't sure what else to add to this room, but I added a vanity table. I don't often use these, and there's not really like a very modern looking one. This one still looks quite traditional. To be fair, I think it is from Vintage Glamour, so it makes sense that it would be more traditional, but vanity tables aren't something we've had added in other packs really, so I'd like to see that, because I think that's something a lot of people have in their room, is a little vanity table, and it'd be nice to have more of those to use. And then just like a little side table for them to display some magazines and some clutter bits. I think it all came together quite nicely, and the flow of the room that they can walk around, I think, is quite nice. Also, here you can see I'm adding those sort of custom curtains where I added two curtains together, and I think it looks really nice. It does cover the view a little bit, but I think it just looks nice. I just like how it turned out. So just for a second, while you watch me making this bedroom, this is for what I designed it for was for a younger child who is a girl. I just wanted to quickly say that I am like so overwhelmed and happy and just like so thankful for the reaction to my very first video that I uploaded to this channel. I got so many lovely comments. I gained a whole bunch of subscribers and I got a bunch of views, and it was so much more than I was expecting, and I'm just like really thankful, and yeah, just thank you everyone who commented and everything. I don't know, I'm just like, it was more than I was expecting, and I'm really thankful, so thank you. So in this bedroom, I used a swatch of a bed that I absolutely never use, but I think the swatch on that bed is so cute. It's got this like little cartoon character and this pink bedding, and I think it worked really well with the way I sort of styled this room. I kind of based the rest of the room on the design of this bed sheet because I think it is like very stylized and I wanted it to influence the rest of the design. For some reason, I'm literally suddenly like really out of breath recording. I don't know why, I don't know if it's just me asthma or what it is, but I'm trying to record and all of a sudden I'm really out of breath. So if I'm kind of breathy, I'm just going to persevere, push through, carry on recording. So if that annoys you, I'm super sorry. But it was either this or I just don't record and I want to get this video done. So the girl's bedroom, I'm again adding loads and loads of clutter. I love that backpack item. I can never remember what it's called, so I can never search for it. I can never find it, but it's one of my favourite items, and I'm pretty sure it's base game, so everyone should have that. And adding a bunch of plants. Maybe it's not that realistic that everyone would have this many plants, or at least fake plants in their room, but maybe the parents went, oh yeah, let's give them some plants, that will look nice, and then the kid added their own clutter afterwards. I added these like signed posters behind this sideboard. I'm pretty sure the sideboard is from Parenthood. I'm fairly certain it is. And I think that looks really nice and kind of realistic that they'd have these posters with like cartoon characters or something. And then I added these like doll's house style shelves, and these are one of my absolute favourite items. These are so gorgeous. The colours they come in, they are just amazing. And I think they look perfect in kids' rooms because a lot of the furniture, like, you can put it in a room, but it doesn't necessarily say kids' room. It could look kind of like a teen's room, a single adult's room. You know, like there's nothing to specifically make it look like a child's bedroom. But those shelves are very much something that would only really be in a child's bedroom and very like stylized towards that sort of theme. And so they're one of my absolute favorite items. Now I've moved on to the teen boy's bedroom. This is meant to be like a kind of like gamer teen boy bedroom. And I again added some more of these signed posters. I also put like a little team photo thing on the bedside cabinet and a little sort of like, I don't know what you'd call it, like game character thing on the bedside cabinet as well. And I added these TVs because I wanted to have like this huge 3 screen setup, like gaming setup, because I thought if these are meant to be the super rich, then if their son was a gamer, they would buy them like the best setup they possibly could. You know, like realistically, they can afford it. I like adding these like wall pictures just on top of surfaces. Like you see that sort of not Rubik's cube. Oh my goodness, Tetris looking poster. I added it so it kind of looks like it's on the unit leaning against the wall. We don't have many items like that, and I really like the look of that. I think, especially in a teen's room, it could be quite realistic to have like they bought a picture and it never really got like they never got the time to just hang it up, or they never bothered asking to get it put up on the wall, so they just kind of plunked it down one day and it just sits there. I think that's very realistic, and we've probably all bought a picture like a nice art print or something and then just never got around to putting it up. um so here you can see I'm doing what I mentioned earlier, adding archways instead of having deleted sections of wall, because it was giving like weird outdoor lighting. And then I added some little puck lights inside the actual ceiling lights to give some more lighting in the room. And then I'm just kind of going over doing some like last finishes. I know I haven't finished doing the decorating the upstairs bathroom. I get to that eventually. But I just wanted to add a few more little details and bits and bobs in some of the rooms and make sure they all look nice. I then kind of realised this back wall, or sort of side wall I suppose, of the teen room was very empty. So I wanted to add something there, but like it's such a long and thin space. I couldn't add a sofa or something like a hangout space. I couldn't add any of that because the space just wouldn't fit. So I thought this really modern looking bookshelf really went with the room and with the whole style of the boat in general. It goes really nicely, and I never really use that item because, like I said, I don't usually build in this style. So I thought that was quite a fun item to use. The boxes that we got in Dream Home Decorator, you probably noticed I use them a lot in this build. They're one of my favourite items because I store a lot of my stuff in boxes. I think it's just an easy way to store stuff. So, like, pretty much every bit of clothing that I own is stored in a box instead of being hung up. And so those box items, I think they're just one of my favourites. It's very normal to me to store stuff in boxes all the time. This bathroom, super simple. I like that I could manage to fit this L-shaped counter in because I like having that big counter space. Maybe like the daughter comes in and does her makeup in there or something. Like there's a space to do that in this bathroom, and I think that's good for family sort of houses. I don't know. I just thought it looked nice. And then this upstairs landing was a bit empty. I added a sofa into it, and there we go. That's the end of the boat build. And then I finally just kind of went in and made this little dock I'm still not 100% certain that dock is the correct word for that, but I'm going with it. We're sticking with it. I wasn't sure how to design the dock to not look just like plain and completely empty, because that's kind of what it would look like, I suppose. But in Sims, then that ended up looking really like stupid. I think it looked just, I don't know. It didn't look realistic. It looked too plain and boring. So I was trying to look in debug to find something I could add to it. I put a little boat next to it, which I thought maybe some other person's pulled in there and put their boat there. And then I added these little columns to the side. I put a mailbox hidden inside one of them because otherwise one of them would just auto-generate on the lot, and that was going to be very annoying. So I just hid it inside there. And then I found a few other random bits in debug, so I just placed some of those around where I could. I put some wine glasses on the dining table, and you will notice in the little walkthrough video I do, like a tour at the end, and any screenshots I posted on social media, that those wine glasses are dirty. They have green like smog coming off of them because they're dirty washing up. I didn't realise that when I placed them, so just ignore that. That looks kind of gross. But yeah, just adding some random bits and bobs from debug, and having a little look through what the options are for what I could place. So here you can see I'm adding those wine glasses I mentioned. I really wanted to add these little kids colouring pages in to the girls' room. I think that added like a nice look to it. I don't want to say realism again. I keep saying realism, but it would be realistic, you know? And this is pretty much the build done. I think we're going to be going into the tour now, if I'm not mistaken. I'm just saving. So, yeah, this is the build done. And here are some nice shots of the build. So this is like where you come in, where you enter the boat, with this like nice outdoor space coming in, flowing through to the living room. I really do think this build looks like a family home with clutter and bits and bobs everywhere. I think that's really quite realistic, and it looks like a nice cozy space to be in while still being very like summery and vacation-y feeling at the same time. I think it would be a really nice place to stay, or even just to live there. So this is the downstairs bathroom, fairly simple, but some nice bits of clutter on the surface. And the under the stairs nook, which as I said is my favourite part of the build. And then this kitchen, my favourite part of the kitchen is that little bit with the hob stovetop over there. I think that it just looks really nice, and all the different clutter items and the little shelf and everything, it works so nicely. And then this back deck, I didn't add much to, just those plants, because there wasn't really any space. It wasn't a very functional space, so I just thought it's more just somewhere to stand. The upstairs landing with this huge hanging light, I love how that looks. I love making these large landings like that. I think it looks really nice. And then into the parents' room or the master bedroom. I will be honest, I kind of forgot to decorate the upstairs balconies, but we'll pretend it was on purpose. So they've got their nice like wardrobe space, the bed, and sort of a getting ready space with some bits of clutter and just some bits and bobs on it. And then we come through back into that gorgeous landing and into the bathroom, which is very simple. I like the little bath mat I added on the floor that you would have just seen a second ago. I think that's, again, realistic to family gameplay. And the daughter's bedroom. I like that it's not overwhelmingly girly and pink, but you can still tell it's kind of, there's a little bit of girliness with like a few elements of pink, but it's not like pink wallpaper, everything's pink. It's quite, I don't know, I think it's more subtle, not too girly. And then this is the teen boy's bedroom. Very black and red sort of colour scheme. And a lot of those little pop vinyl looking figurines. And then here's just a couple more shots of the outside. So that is the end of the build. Thank you so much for watching. It'd be amazing if you could subscribe. That would mean so much to me. And thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye!